We need to talk about something that every single designer knows, but most people cannot articulate. And it's that designer homes just look better. You see a designer's home and you're like, why does their living room look like a Nancy Meyers movie? And mine looks like a freshman dorm with a throw blanket. And no, it's not because their furniture costs $1 million. And it's definitely not because designers are born with some magical IKEA sixth sense. The truth is, designer homes look better because they think differently. If you don't know, my name is Cooper, and of course today we're going to be talking about why designer homes just look better. So the first thing that we need to understand is really important because it is the root to everything. Most people decorate by collecting objects, but designers decorate by constructing layers. When you decorate a home with objects, you walk into Target and you select a cute vase, and then you get home and realize the vase is sitting in a room that still feels weird, empty, and cold. And that's because collecting objects won't magically create an environment, because designers don't look at rooms as places that you fill. We look at them as environments that you build. For example, a living room is not just a couch and a coffee table. A room is the architecture, the lighting, textures, materials, the light in the morning, the light at night, the emotion that it gives off, and the relationship between every single surface in the room. It's basically world building. This might help a little bit. Think about it like a movie set. Nobody wants to film a beautiful romantic scene in a room that's filled with harsh blue light, tiled floors, and one sad folding chair in the corner. Like, that's just not going to work, because that space won't feel like romance. And designers treat your home the exact same way. The feeling and emotion of the room is created through layers, which could be the softness of the rug, the warmth of the wooden floors, or the dim glow from the lighting at night. This is all design. And that is why designer homes look better. It's because they've been composed the way you compose a song, with rhythm, pacing, contrast, and movement. Because you can buy the same sofa as a designer, but then you're not getting all of the layers, and it will just end up looking like a sofa in a void. Let me give you a really important secret here. The human brain really loves harmony, and it's wired to pick up on proportion almost instantly. Like, you don't have to be a designer to sense that something's off with your space. I'm sure you guys all know that in your own homes, because your body knows it before you can even explain what's going on. This is why sometimes you'll walk into a room and immediately feel relaxed, or other rooms will make you feel like you walked into a doctor's office in 2008. I find that the most common mistakes that people make when it comes to proportion are choosing things that are either too small, too short, or too low. You know, your rug could be too small, your art could be too small, your lamps are too low to the ground, and your nightstands are dollhouse size. And here's why that matters psychologically, because I know that sounds a little bit wild. When the scale feels wrong in the space, the room starts to feel timid. It feels unconfident, and because humans are so sensitive to spatial cues, we can read that immediately. Personally, I think that large scale pieces do the opposite to the room. They anchor it, they can create visual stability, and they tell your brain this room is intentional, it's mature, and it has a presence. That's why designers tend to choose the bigger rugs, the bigger artwork, the taller drapes, and the ceiling fixtures. I know it's really easy to jump and think, oh, they're just doing that so they can get the biggest design fee possible, but honestly, it is true, and it does really matter. And it's not because we're dramatic, okay? Like, yes, I mean, we are sometimes, but the main thing here is that scale communicates certainty. When something is underscaled, the room tends to shrink. Your eyes don't know where to land, nothing feels grounded, and when your home is correctly scaled, the room gives off confidence. It makes it feel expensive, luxurious, and relaxing to be in. And that's why it's a really common question to ask, why does that designer's home look so luxurious? And I can tell you that half the time, it's not the furniture, it's the proportions. Take my living room, for example. I moved into this house a couple months back, so it's definitely still a work in progress, but you can see how I enhanced the living room through scale. I used tall drapes, a low-slung sofa, and a mid-century coffee table to really create a unique tension and anchored the room in this really large olive green rug. I don't have the highest ceilings either, so I used those drapes to create a verticality to the space and lower furniture to also bring the ceilings up. So it's about these little tricks that really make a space interesting. And lighting is something that is going to be really important here, because honestly, a lot of people light their homes like the way a grocery store will light an aisle: bright, cold, uniform, and overhead. And it kind of gives, like, I have coupons in my purse, like, not in a good way, because designers and decorators don't think of lighting as brightness. It's not just that, it also is conveying an emotion. And I know I say this a lot and you guys are probably like, what is he even talking about? But just hear me out. So light has a couple characteristics that are really important. It has color, it has direction, it creates shadows, and all of those things can create the illusion of intimacy, drama, and comfort. Have you ever looked at Pinterest and saw a home that's so warm, it has great lighting, and it just feels really inviting and cinematic? The reason why is because they're using layered lighting. So I'm going to break down lighting in a couple different ways for you guys to understand. We have ambient lighting, which is just kind of the general glow of the room, creating a nice ambiance. We have task lighting, which is focused. So this would be lighting used for, reading or, like a swing arm wall sconce, something like that. We have accent lighting, which would be directional light that kind of sculpts the room. And then we have mood lighting, which is the incandescent gradients of the space. And here's what nobody tells you about lighting, because I think these misconceptions are very common. People tend to hate shadows, but shadows are something that is good. Shadows are what makes a room feel cozy, they give the room depth, and it just generally gives dimensionality to the space. Think about the really romantic restaurant that you'll go to on a fancy night out. Do you ever wonder why they feel so inviting and warm? It's because they use shadows in their lighting. Things are warm, they're directional, and they're low. While a lot of you guys, sorry, I hate to say it, but you guys are sitting under a blue overhead light and it just needs to stop. Because you're not getting your teeth cleaned, you're supposed to be enjoying your home. So please, if you take nothing else from this video, listen to this. Turn your overhead lights off. Do it. Add warm bulbs to your lamps. It will make things much cozier. It is the one thing that you can do to really enhance your space for a really low price. The next thing that I wanted to get into is trends. And I know this is kind of a touchy subject with my audience because I've gotten a lot of, thoughts about it in my comment section. But I think it's especially important to note because designers don't necessarily follow trends. I want to start off here by saying that we would not have any good design without trends because trends are where the creativity comes in. It's where the uniqueness comes in. And most of the timeless styles that we have today originated in trends. So, take them with a grain of salt, but also if something really speaks to you, you can use it in your space. But anyways, designers aren't super focused on trends, they're focused on cohesion because trends are not the problem in your space. Blind obedience to those trends is the real problem. Most people tend to start with an aesthetic for their space, which is just not a good way to go about it. Pinterest says that you're doing beige minimalism this year, and TikTok says that we're all buying boucle chairs. But designers do not start with that. They start with a story for the space. The first questions that I ask my clients in a consultation is, who lives here? What is the era of this architecture? What is the emotional tone of the space? Do you want it to be a cozy environment, a bright environment, or a dramatic one? You get a sense of what they want and then you build off of that. Because you're not designing for an aesthetic, you're designing for a person. And the end goal is to see what you want the room to be. Because designers aren't randomly selecting cute objects from 5 different aesthetics and hoping that they'll feel cohesive. That's basically like putting subtitles from the wrong movie on the screen. Like nothing's gonna connect. Because cohesion is what makes a room feel complete. It doesn't have to match, it needs to relate. There has to be a conversation happening amongst the furniture, the color palette, the textures, the lighting, and the shapes. And that's why designers' rooms feel harmonious, even when it's full of weird, bold, unexpected pieces. It's not just random, it's curated, but with a narrative. Because trends will not matter if the story is strong. That's just the case. Okay, you guys, hang in there with me because I know you might be a little bit offended by this, and I don't want to hurt the minimalists and the Pinterest lovers out there because I'm not trying to. But what you need to understand is that designers are going to prioritize personality, and you can't get personality from somebody else's space for you. And I can tell you that your home looks boring because you're scared. You're scared of color, you're scared of pattern, you're scared of mixing eras, and you're scared of committing to anything that shows personality. Because designer homes look better because they're actually expressing something. They mix old with the new because it creates tension. They choose bold artwork because it anchors the room emotionally. They choose vintage pieces because they add soul to the space. And they incorporate sentimental items so the space actually feels like a reflection of you and it feels like your home. Basically, when you follow an aesthetic, you're going home to somebody else's space. It's like walking into your own home and seeing pictures of somebody else's family. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Because at the end of the day, I know that nobody wants to live in a beige, sterile showroom. Even people who think they do secretly don't because they don't know another way to do it. Because personality is what makes a home feel comfortable. And when I say that, I don't mean being a maximalist. I just mean incorporating elements of yourself into the space. Because nothing feels better than walking into a space that feels unmistakably, deeply like you. You should give your home those little fun quirks. Your home should have stories. Your home should make people go, wait, can you tell me about that? Because you are an interesting person. There is not one person on this planet that doesn't have something interesting about them or a unique aspect to their personality. So show it off in your space, and I promise you'll love your home so much more. This next part is the part that nobody talks about in design, and it's one of the biggest reasons why designer homes hit differently. Because designers and decorators take into consideration how you move through the room. Where's your eye gonna go first when you walk in? Where does your body go? What's the first texture that that you're going to experience. What's the first color? What's the focal point across from the doorway? And how do the furniture pieces relate across the space? Most people place furniture based on convenience, which is very understandable, like I get that, but designers are placing furniture based on movement and emotion. If your space feels like chaotic or cramped or awkward and it just feels like something is wrong, it's because the flow of the room is broken. When a room is arranged with good flow, your shoulders drop, your body relaxes, and your mind stops scanning the room for problems, because that's the designer touch. It's an immediate sense of ease when you walk into the room. And at the end of the day, designer homes don't look good just because they're expensive. They look good because they're intentional. Most of the principles that we talked about in this video cost nothing. Layered lighting, free. Find a lamp on the side of the road. Proportion, that should just be part of the process when you're getting furniture for your space in the first place. Personality, that's free. Flow is totally free. Cohesion, free. And thinking in layers, you might have guessed it, but also free. Because you can create a home that feels luxurious and expensive without purchasing one single expensive item. Because expensive isn't a price, it's a feeling. The real difference between designer homes and normal homes isn't talent or money or some magical intuition. It's perspective, it's how you see the space, it's the questions we ask, the layers that we build, and the stories that we tell. And now that you guys know the secrets, you can start incorporating those exact design principles into your own home. For now, I want you guys to fix your lighting, buy a bigger rug, and please stop decorating with fear. It's gotta go. It's gotta stop. It's not 2012 and you're not living in an HGTV dream home. If you're really struggling with your own space, you can always hire me as your interior decorator. I would absolutely love to help you no matter how big or small your space is. You can find a ton of really great information about it on my website. There's a new one under construction. And don't be shy. Don't feel weird to reach out. I'm here as a resource for you guys, and you can always send me an email. As always, you can find me on all social media at cooper.osinski, and I'm here every Thursday and Sunday at 6 a.m. PST. I love you guys so much, and I hope you're having a great day, whatever day you're watching this. Bye.